This is just a little introductory video for the TI-89 calculator users, and this is really just going to be, if you've never even touched one of these, just the very basics, and by basics I mean things that you'll use pretty much on a daily basis throughout your math career. So the first thing is, when you turn your calculator on, you might be at what I call your home screen. It might look like this, or it might turn on to your apps screen, which is all the different applications that you can go to. Wherever you're at, you can always, if you want to get to where I just was, you can always press your home button, and that's going to bring you to the screen where you can type, just like 5 plus 7 or whatever. Okay, so on that note, if I want to do 5 plus 7, that's just like any other calculator, and you see what you did down here. When you press enter, of course, that's your equal sign. It'll give you 12. Okay, other things, if you want to, let's say, oh, I meant to do 5 plus 17, not 7, I can arrow up on top of, and you can keep arrowing up until I get to that entry, and you can press enter on that, and it'll bring it back down into your entry screen, and you can arrow over and enter, insert a 1 there, and re-press enter, and obviously it'd be probably just as fast to type in 5 plus 17 than do all that. But if you had something really lengthy entered in and you made one little tiny error, it's kind of nice to know that you can just go back up to previous entries. So that's one nice feature. How to do a fraction. I want to bring you to your mode button first. So notice mode is right next to your home screen. So if you go to mode, the first thing I want you to make sure you note is that your graph is in function mode, and if you arrow over, you have all sorts of different modes to choose from, and you'll hit on those eventually in some more higher level math classes, but for now, stick in function mode. Your current folder can certainly be whatever. You might make folders if you want to get to that point. Right now you probably don't, so you just stick in your main folder. Display digits, depending on when you bought your calculator, if you used it before, it might be set at something else. I set mine to float to at least 8, and that's gonna give you 8 digits of a number. If you just set to just float in general, it'll float as far as it can to whatever however many digits that number is. Then of course you have an angle measurement. Do you want it to be in degree or radian? More on that later, so you can stick in degree mode. Let's see, if you go down to, there we go, exact approximate, and I'll let you, feel free to pause this video at any time too. So exact approximate, you have the options to be in automatic mode, exact mode, or approximate mode. Automatic mode will do, if you enter things as a fraction, it will give you your answers as a fraction. If you enter them as decimals, it'll give you your answers as decimals. Exact mode keeps everything as a fraction, if it can, of course, because it's exact. So if you had like 2/3, that's exact. If you have 0.66666 repeating, well, obviously not repeating because the calculator can't do that, but that's not exactly 2/3, so it's not going to do that. And then approximate, of course, is going to go more to a decimal, so rather than 2/3, it's going to give you 0.66666 because that's approximately what it is. You can do whatever. I usually keep mine in automatic mode just so that I can keep my fractions as fractions and my decimals as decimals. And if you want to interchange between the two, I'm going to show you how to do that. So that's my suggestion, although you can definitely have your mode into whatever. Now escape out of this. Your escape button is right here. Or press your home key, whatever. And I'm going to just show you a quick fraction here. And at the same time, bring in a negative. So notice your negative button is right here and your subtraction is here. They are not the same, which I know you know, but don't overlap them. So if you have 5 minus 7, use subtraction and not negative. And if you do 5 negative 7 and press enter, it's going to think that you want to multiply that, which you'll probably catch that error. But just be real careful because your calculator isn't always going to know what you meant. So let's say I want to do a fraction. So if I do a fraction, I use parentheses. Your parentheses are right here. Okay, so if I'm going to do like 2/3, I would do parenthesis, and then I'm going to do 2 divided by 3 and close that. Now you don't have a fancy fraction button like your scientific, so again, 2 divided by 3 is 2/3. And I put that in parentheses because then I'm going to divide that by Let's divide it by 1/4. So in parentheses again, I do 1 divided by 4 and close it. So I have 2/3 in parentheses divided by 1/4 in parentheses. Now when I press enter, I get 2.6666, obviously repeating. So it's 2 2/3. Now I wanted that as a fraction. Now 89s, because I put it in automatic mode, it's going to automatically convert things to whatever. So if I want that in exact mode, I'm going to go back to my mode, and I think it's on page 2, so I'm going to do F2. Your F buttons are up here, by the way. And yep, down here, oh, I set it to approximate. That's not what I wanted. I wanted it to be in automatic mode. Okay. Now I'm in automatic mode, so because I entered my equation here as fractions, when I press enter, it'll give me my answer as a fraction, which is 8/3. Now, again, to me, okay, what if I wanted that as a decimal, even though I know that that's 2 2/3, but let's pretend that I didn't. Notice above your enter, in green are those approximation symbols, those squigglies. Here's your green button, which is called your diamond button. So if you do diamond enter, it will give you that answer. Whoops, and then I didn't do it, sorry. So I'm going to go back up here, choose that, and then I'm going to do diamond enter, and it will give me that answer as an approximation. So I don't really have to be in approximation mode. It's nice to have things in exact format, but at the same time, every once in a while, you probably want that approximate. So I stay in exact or automatic mode, and then I can use my approximation if needed. Fractions with quantities, I guess I covered that, so I did the 2/3 divided by 1/4. If I do 2/3 divided by 1/4 without parentheses, your calculator follows order of operations, so it's actually going to do 3 divided by 1 first. Or I'm sorry, it's going to go from left to right, 2 divided by 3, and then that answer divided by 1, and then that answer divided by 4. So having the parentheses around the 2/3 and around the 1/4 is obviously very important. The last couple things I'm going to show you is just how to utilize your graphing, and some things you might notice here is you've got your X key. We use X a lot in algebra, right? Or Y, Z, T, more on that later. You also have a caret. So if I wanted to do like 2 cubed, I could do 2 caret, which is raising it to the 3rd, just in case you need that for exponents. All right, let's go to graphing. So above F1, notice in green, you see a Y equals. Green is your diamond button, so do diamond Y equals. Now, I have stuff in here. You probably don't unless you've used this previously or somebody else's, so I'm going to clear out my stuff in my Y equals. The plots up here, and you're going to have to get used to these these function menus, but I can, F4 checks it on or checks it off. So I can also go to F1 under tools, and I can clear my functions. If you have a bunch of things in there, you can clear everything out, and it'll just say, do you really want to do this? Yes, I do. Everything's cleared out. Okay, it won't clear out your plots. Now you probably don't have anything in your plots, but eventually you'll get to that point. So I'm going to uncheck this. So F4 is check mark and uncheck mark, so I don't have those interfering. Let's just do a basic linear function. So let's do 2x plus 1. So 2, here's your x key, plus 1. Press enter. If you forget to press enter, then it will dump that into your y equals. You can see 2x plus 1. Now, here's your graph key, which you can just do diamond F3 to graph, but it's going to go to whatever window you were set at last. So I'm going to show you where your zoom is before. Now, again, you can do diamond F3, and I'll show you that. And my window was set at some craziness, so I don't see what I want to see, right? So I'm going to go back. Now, to go back to where I was, you have above your apps button, you have a little blue box with arrows. That takes you back to a previous screen. So if I do second apps, it'll bring me back to my y equals. Okay, so let's go back to zoom. F2 is zoom. Okay, so if I press F2, you're probably going to use zoom in and zoom out quite a bit. I'm also going to show you zoom standard, and that gives you a nice 10 by 10 window. So if you choose zoom 6 for standard, you should see this nice linear line, whatever I graphed 2x plus 1. You can trace on it. Notice up here F3, so I would choose F3 if I want to trace, and it gives you a nice little cursor and you can trace along your line. You can still zoom in if you want, so let's say I wanted to try to hone in on that y-intercept. I bring my cursor there, and if I go to F2 for zoom and choose zoom in, it's going to say you want that to be your new center. Sure, if not, I can move my cursor around and it'll zoom in on that for you. So that's kind of a nice feature if you were trying to zoom in on things. And that's kind of the basics of graphing. So again, that zoom will be a nice feature. Now if you go to your window, I'm going to actually go back to zoom, F2, and just go back to my nice standard 10 by 10 window. And in case you want to see this 10 by 10 window, if you go to window, which is diamond F2, you can see that your X min and X max are negative 10 and 10, your Y min and Y max are negative 10 and 10, so you can manually set your window to whatever you would like. So let's say I wanted to change this to negative 15 just for the fun of it. Then instead of going back to zoom, I can just go to graph. So diamond F3, and that will just regraph whatever window I wanted to set. Now again, this is just a few features of your calculator. Please ask questions during class because you'll want to get very comfortable with obviously using this calculator.